Most men are trying to be respected, but they're doing it in the wrong way. They try to be liked. They try to be understood. They try to be accepted. And in doing that, they become easy to control. Because the moment someone can influence your behavior, they stop respecting your presence. Watch how this plays out in real life. A man changes his tone depending on who he's talking to. He adjusts his opinion to avoid disagreement. He reacts differently based on how people respond to him. It's subtle, but it's visible. And once it's visible, it defines him. Because people are always asking one question: can I move this person? Not consciously, but instinctively. Can they pressure you into explaining yourself? Can they get a reaction out of you? Can they shift your behavior with approval or rejection? If the answer is yes, your position drops immediately. Not because you did something wrong, but because you became adjustable. And adjustable men are not respected, they are managed. That's the shift most men never see. They think respect comes from what they give. Being nice, being helpful, being agreeable. But respect doesn't come from giving more. It comes from not being easily moved. That's what creates weight. Now compare two men. One reacts to everything, adjusts constantly, needs the interaction to go well. The other stays the same, no matter what's said, no matter how people respond, no matter what pressure is applied, and because of that, he becomes difficult to influence, difficult to read, difficult to move. And that difficulty is what creates respect, not fear, not dominance in the loud sense, but something quieter, more stable. Because when people realize they can't control you, they stop trying. And when they stop trying, they start respecting. Most men don't realize how often they are being tested, not in obvious ways. No one walks up and challenges you directly. It's smaller than that, subtle. Someone makes a comment and watches your reaction. Someone disagrees and observes your response. Someone ignores you and sees what you do next. These are tests, and most men fail them instantly because they react. They explain themselves. They defend their position. They try to correct how they're perceived, and in doing that, they show exactly how they can be controlled. That's the problem. The moment you feel the need to fix the interaction, you've already lost control of it. Because now your behavior depends on them, on their reaction, on their approval, on their response. And that dependency is visible. People can feel when you need something from them, need agreement, need validation, need the conversation to go your way. And once they feel that, they have leverage. Now they can push, they can pull. They can influence how you move. Not aggressively, but effortlessly, because you gave them access. Now compare that to a man who doesn't operate like that. He doesn't rush to respond. He doesn't try to fix every moment. He doesn't adjust himself to keep things smooth. If something is said, he lets it sit. If there's tension, he doesn't remove it immediately. If someone tests him, he doesn't react automatically. And that changes everything. Because now, there's no clear way to move him. No obvious pressure point, no predictable reaction, no easy way in. And when people don't know how to influence you, they become careful. They slow down. They think more. They adjust their behavior. Not because you forced it, but because they can't control the outcome anymore. That's where respect begins. Not when you prove yourself, but when you remove their ability to move you. At some point, this stops being about other people. It becomes about you. Because the reason most men are easy to control is not because others are powerful. It's because they are dependent. Dependent on reactions, dependent on outcomes, dependent on how they're perceived, and that dependency shows up everywhere. A man says something and immediately looks for a reaction. He makes a decision and waits for approval. He enters a room and adjusts based on how he's received. He's not leading, he's calibrating constantly, and every adjustment moves him further away from control, because control requires stability. And stability cannot exist if you are always responding to something external. That's the core issue. Most men are not grounded in themselves. They're grounded in the interaction, in how things are going, in how people respond, in whether they feel accepted. And because of that, their behavior is always shifting. Now compare that to a man who is internally fixed. He doesn't need the interaction to go a certain way. He doesn't need people to agree with him. He doesn't need validation to feel solid. So nothing pulls him. Nothing changes his behavior mid-conversation. Nothing forces him to adjust just to stay comfortable. And because of that, he becomes stable. And stability is what people cannot control. That's the shift. Not becoming distant, not becoming cold, but becoming independent from the outcome. Because once you no longer need the interaction to go your way, you stop reacting to every change in it. You stop chasing responses. You stop fixing tension. You stop adjusting your position. And when you stop doing that, people lose their ability to influence you. That's when something changes. They can't read what you need. They can't predict what will move you. They can't find the lever. And when there's no lever, there's no control. And when there's no control, there's respect. At the highest level, this becomes simple. Not easy, but simple. The more control people have over you, the less they respect you, and the less control they have, the more they adjust. That's the rule. Most men try to gain respect by adding things. More talking, more explaining, more effort. But respect is not built by adding. It's built by removing the need to be liked, removing the need to be understood, removing the need to control every outcome, because those needs are exactly what give other people leverage. The moment you need something from someone, they have power over you, and you will adjust, even slightly, in your tone, in your timing, in your behavior, and that slight adjustment is enough for people to feel it, enough for people to know they can move you. Now here's the shift. The man who is respected doesn't remove emotion. He removes dependency. He can engage without needing the result. He can speak without needing agreement. He can walk away without needing closure. And because of that, he remains the same, no matter what happens, no matter how people respond, no matter what pressure is applied. And that consistency breaks the dynamic. Because now, there is nothing to grab onto, no reaction to trigger, no approval to give or take, no behavior to manipulate. And when that happens, people stop trying to control you. And when they stop trying, they start respecting, quietly, without saying it. You'll see it in how they speak to you, in how they listen, in how they hesitate before crossing a line, not because you demanded it, but because your presence now requires it. That's the difference. You're no longer participating in the interaction. You're setting the frame of it. And once that happens, everything shifts. Because in the end, people don't respect strength alone. They respect what they can't influence, what they can't move, what they can't control. And the man who reaches that point doesn't need to prove anything, because his position is already out of reach.